behind the scenes, some people were like, Nancy, you're hitting this bathroom thing really hard.
I have a warning for any media outlet that says I wrongly, falsely accused this guy of physically accosting me, of assaulting me. That is defamation. And so I would be walking on eggshells if I were you.
What do your genitals look like?
Okay, prepare yourselves, because some of you are going to be mad at me, but I'm going to come right out and say it. I think Nancy Mace is 100% full of it. You don't have to agree with me, but if you want to hear me out, continue to watch this video. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, so here's the deal, you guys. I know every once in a while you guys are going to disagree with me. I don't mind that even a little bit. Actually, I like when people disagree with me. Some of my favorite creators on this platform, I disagree with regularly, vehemently. I have no problem with that. I actually think that if any two people agree on every single issue, one of those people is lying. Which I'm not saying anything against anybody. You may have agreed with everything I've said so far, but in the future, you'll probably have a point where you're like, I don't really agree with that. I respect that 100%. But messages like this, let me address this one specifically. It says, I'm not sure what happened in this video. I'm usually a big fan. Please show more respect for Sal Grover. She is fighting an extremely important case for the women of Australia. No, I'm not going to. Let me be very honest with you. If you don't like what I'm saying on a particular day and you don't think I'm showing the proper amount of reverence for somebody, then don't be here on that day. And I'm not trying to push away my followers, but I've already said, I personally think that Sal Grover is doing a disservice to her cause right now. I think Nancy Mace is doing a disservice right now to her cause. Because as the opening clip told you, Nancy Mace is coming for the press. But if you're paying attention to Nancy Mace on her social media, you know that Nancy Mace keeps tweeting over and over, free speech should be free. And if free speech should be free, that means the free speech you don't like. And I'm starting to see the right, via Nancy Mace, start to turn in the left. Because suddenly we're supposed to respond to all of Nancy Mace's triggers. And I respect that there are victims of SA. I respect there are victims of the R word. And their life experiences are valid. I've been very honest about the fact that I've gone through certain experiences in my life that would make it so I should carry a certain amount of trauma too. But I do not want to be driven by any lawmaker's trauma. And I also think if you're going to constantly post things like, come at me, bro, which if you pay attention to Nancy Mace's Twitter, she's always posting stuff like that. Well, I know it's X now, the artist formerly known as Twitter, just in case anybody's confused. But my point is, you can't be the come at me, bro person, because she did post that picture of her holding the megaphone and a come at me, bro. And you can't use the language that you're using and then when you get confronted, act like you're a victim. To me, that is not a respectable position. I will tell you honestly, don't come at me, bro. If you see me in public and you don't agree with something I said, just let it slide, because I prefer not deal with you on that level. If you don't like what I'm saying, you don't like what I'm saying. But to start threatening the press that you're gonna sue and that it's defamation, I have paid attention to this more than you guys would understand. And I will tell you, I have seen nothing that says Nancy Mace is outright lying. I've seen people presenting the other side, which is what the media is supposed to do. The media is not supposed to just take a side. Actually, the media, technically journalists, I should say, are supposed to just present the story to us. And it's one of the things that bothers me the most. Like, I run an opinion channel. Some people call it a commentary channel. Some people call it a reaction channel. It's all of those things on different days. And on some days, it's all of those things at once. What I do is very much my opinion. When I read stories to you, that's me giving you what's been presented to us, and whatever's factual in that is factual. When I do research and tell you this is a fact, that is me telling you the facts, and then I will accompany that with my opinions. But I always tell people, if you don't like what any creator is saying and you think something else should be said, create your own channel. And that's why with this person that says she thinks I should show more respect for Sal Grover, I will not. I will not even consider that moving forward. I'm not going to be like, oh, what would this particular user think of me saying what I'm about to say about Sal Grover? I'll say whatever I want about Sal Grover or anybody else. So I've got a lot of opinions on a lot of things today. It's all pretty much to deal with Nancy Mace and her hashtag hold the line movement. But I also want to make sure to read this article for you, because if you guys don't already know, Nancy Mace is on X incessantly. And I know that she has to push the things that she wants to push, but I really feel like she's milking the media attention, and I feel like she's liking the social media controversy a little bit too much. And I'll be honest with you, I really am beginning to feel like Nancy Mace is lying about this particular situation. And if it gets exposed that she is lying, that's going to hurt every cause that she stands behind moving forward, if she's even able to continue to hold her seat if she gets found out for lying. That's the way I feel. It's my opinion. And if Nancy Mace has a problem with it, come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro.
Because I'm just saying it's my opinion, and Nancy Mace, free speech should be free. Because the truth is, I don't think she should be threatening anybody, mainly because I haven't seen a single outlet outright saying she's lying. I have deduced from the things that I've read that she has to be at least fudging the story a little bit. But again, I'm very honest about the fact that that is my opinion. But every story I've read, like I said, none of them have said that she's a liar or she's lying. They just say, this is what the other side is saying. And then they tell you the other side, which the other side does feel like she's misrepresenting the story. So when they quote people as saying that she's misrepresenting the story, that's not the media saying she's lying. That's them reiterating what they've been told, and they even use the quotes. So I don't really know why she thinks she's within her rights to threaten anybody, but I will repeat, you can't be free speech should be free and then threatening the media for exercising free speech. So here we go. Representative Nancy Mace says she was assaulted at a foster youth advocacy event earlier this week. Witnesses say it was just a handshake. Whatever the truth, the South Carolina Republican sure would be happier if the media stopped reporting on it. And that's another red flag too, is Nancy Mace loves media. She loves the attention. Whether you like her or agree with her or not, you have to admit that she does love the attention. But suddenly she wants everybody to be quiet on this story. But at the same time that she wants the media to be quiet, she'll still take pictures wearing her sling and let you know that she's doubling down in spite of being physically accosted. And in some cases, she's used the words physically assaulted. And I don't really know why she uses those two terms, but I think it's so that she's covered on both levels. So let's go on with the story. Mace told far-right influencer Benny Johnson Thursday she believes the reporting amounts to defamation and warned that media outlets covering the story better watch their backs. Quote, I have a warning for any media outlet that says I wrongly, falsely accused this guy of physically accosting me, of assaulting me, she told Johnson. That is defamation, and so I would be walking on eggshells if I were you, she said with a giggle. The congresswoman also accused anyone who disputes her characterization of the interaction of victim shaming. See, and that's what I'm saying when I say that Nancy Mace is trying to turn the right into the left, because if you remember, that's what the left was all about, was you weren't allowed to question anything they said because it was considered victim blaming.
And I also find it offensive that you're trying to shame me with this question.
You weren't allowed to question their triggers.
It's a trigger for me.
You weren't allowed to have a response to anything that they said because there was some way that they had to shut down your speech by calling you some kind of name. And that's exactly what I see Nancy Mace doing. And that's the reason I stopped messing with the left, is because of exactly what Nancy Mace is doing right now. This guy came in for what I thought was going to be a friendly handshake, and I know the difference between a passionate handshake and a violent one. And here I sit here today with an injury from it, she said. Mace also shared a photo of herself wearing an arm sling and brace on social media Thursday. The photo was immediately ridiculed by Natalie Johnson, a former Mace staffer, who called it a pathetic ploy for attention. So even one of her former staffers is saying that it looks like a ploy for attention. And who knows if that particular staffer is a former disgruntled employee, but at the same time, it doesn't seem that far-fetched with the way that Nancy is always anxious to be in front of the cameras that she would have said that kind of thing. Because I really do think that Nancy is more of a headline grabber than she's worried about women or anybody else. And I really do understand when people say that she has trauma from R word and SA and she deals with PTSD. But if she's not careful, people are going to start pushing for her to step down because we don't all want to be guided by your PTSD. We don't want everything that you do to be influenced by your trauma and your triggers. And if you scan the comments, some people are saying she's not actually wearing the sling properly. And I do think that it does matter that she, from what was reported, said that she didn't want medical attention at that time. And so people are also asking to see the medical reports. They're also asking to see who prescribed her the sling and get that information. So all of this is to be kept in mind. And I've seen in my comments there are a fair amount of you too that are saying that the sling is probably a bit much. And I do agree with that and have said that from the beginning. Some of you can be mad. You have a right to voice that in the comments, just like I have a right to voice it on my channel. And now here's more from the staffer. Before we go any further, I'm just going to ask that you like, comment, and subscribe. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. We're making good progress, so do your part. And while you're at it, click the bell and make sure that you are set to all notifications so you know every time I upload. Now let's go on with this story. Quote, this is the same woman who told staff, myself included, during January 6th that she wanted to get, quote, punched in the face by a rioter so she could get on TV. End quote, Johnson said on X, formerly Twitter. While Mace says she was physically accosted, witnesses speculate it's what James McIntyre, the man who shook her hand, said, not how he acted, that set Mace off. McIntyre, the co-founder of a foster advocacy group, reportedly told Mace trans youth are foster youth and they need your support. Which again, I told you guys, and I stand by, I don't think that he should have brought that up to her because she wasn't going to be sympathetic to it and she didn't want to hear it anyway. So I don't think that he should have brought that up to her. But at the same time, I haven't read anywhere that he said anything other than some variation of those words. So when she says that he threatened her during the handshake, why can't we be told what the threat was? Because like I said, I've read nothing that says that he said anything different than some variation of those words. Elliot Hinkle, a foster youth advocate and consultant on foster issues who was at the event, told the Washington Post that McIntyre reached out with both hands to shake Mace's hand while delivering his message. Mace has become increasingly fixated on anti-trans legislation. Quote, it didn't look like an assault or intended aggression, Hinkle said. Capitol Police arrested the 33-year-old after the incident. McIntyre, a co-founder of the Illinois chapter of Foster Care Alumni of America, who was named Public Citizen of the Year in 2019 by the Illinois chapter of the National Association of Social Workers, has pleaded not guilty. And so that's the story. And, you know, to me, that last bit does matter because even though, like I said, maybe McIntyre shouldn't have brought it up and maybe he was being annoying in even if the way he said it, but if he said some variation of those words, you don't have to like it, Nancy, but you are a public official and you are in some way representing this particular group. And if this guy thinks that that's an issue that should be brought up to the representative that they're working with, whether you agree with it or not, you should at least hear it. And even if you're not really open to it, give a diplomatic answer since you are a politician and just move on. Because I can see there needing to be a difference between the Nancy that's dealing with the press and the Nancy that's working in a professional capacity and having to deal with people like this that you are representing on some level. So I could see you just being like, okay, well, that's something I'll definitely take into consideration. And then you walk off and in your head, you're like, okay, well, I don't really believe that trans youth should be a thing. And I'm just going to leave that where it is. And he can email me and I'll give a polite response there or let him know via email that this isn't a direction that I want to go or something that I'm going to be a good advocate for and keep it moving. But to make it seem like you were threatened in some way by him saying those words, I don't think that's really going to float. And I am anxious to see how it plays out. So now Nancy Mace is asking the LGBs, which would include me. I am a G. I'm a real G. Oh, just playing. But I am a G. And so she's asking the LGBs to join them in the hashtag Hold the Line movement. So this is what she posted on X. This is a formal invitation to the LGBs to join our fight to hashtag Hold the Line. It's about women and children's safety and protecting them from the left's war on gender. Now, it would seem that I should be 100% for Hold the Line. But the reason that I'm not for Hold the Line, a lot of the Hold the Line people really aren't about just protecting women and children. In some cases, it is women that really do think that they should be able to regulate the way that other people dress and the way that other people express themselves. And that is where I will draw the line and not hold the line. Because while I do agree that women and children should be protected from a lot of what's happening with gender ideology right now, at the same time, I'm not going to lie to you guys and act like I'm against trans people, or I think that people need to wear particular clothes or present themselves a different way. And I'll give you an example of what I was saying. Yesterday, I was on Twitter and I saw a guy post, "Not all transgender people are a problem. Some are reasonable, like at Miss Blair White. I think there is a middle ground where we can all exist in peace. The problem is finding that common ground," which is something I very much do agree with. There is a common ground there. And I think, as I pointed out before, that it makes more sense for people that look like the gender that they're presenting as to go into the bathroom that works with that. Because if we have trans men going into the women's bathroom, that is going to trigger more women than if we had trans women that are passable going in there. Because Brad Palumbo took these particular examples, and I just mentioned Brad Palumbo because these were taken from an X post that he put up. But these three people right here look like men. So if you are an SA or R word survivor and you come out of the bathroom stall and you see one of these people or somebody that looks like this at the sink, that's going to probably trigger you more than if you saw a Blair White, an Eden the doll, any of the passable trans people that we all look at and are like, yeah. And if you want to really examine them, I'm sure you can find ways where you're like, I can see the masculinity. I get that. Some of you are very attuned to that. But most people don't look that deep at other people in the bathroom. I don't know what you guys are like, but I don't examine every single person at the bathroom. I usually don't even pay attention to the other people in the bathroom. But let me read you some of the comments. The common ground will not be found where women do not have penis-free intimate spaces. Women and girls deserve to feel safe in spaces designated for women. There's been too many shows of aggression to be ignored. Now, on the surface, that sounds fine. But at the same time, if you have a passable trans woman in the bathroom, how do you know whether or not she has a penis? How is that even your business? As long as they don't present a threat, as long as they're not being creepy, I don't really know why everybody else is so concerned with what everybody else has in their pants. Because then how much further do we go, honestly? Like, do we start to segregate elevators? Because elevators are also enclosed spaces where you may be in danger if you're with a person that could possibly SA or R word you, has the physical equipment to make that possible. Another one, there is no middle ground. Good men stay out so bad men stand out. Blair is a dude. A dude who LARPs as a woman is not reasonable. No, anyone claiming to be a different gender than what they were born as is unreasonable. Nope, there is no compromise possible because men can't become women and women lose our rights when they pretend they can. White is just another gay man. Yes, all trans are the problem. They have a mental illness and we shouldn't celebrate that. See, the thing that these people get confused is that no trans is asking you to celebrate them. No normal gay like myself is asking you to celebrate trans people or myself. Like, when it comes to actual trans nobody's asking you to celebrate them. And that's what these people aren't getting. And also, I'm tired of people pushing the mental illness thing, because there are a lot of people that suffer from mental illness in our society. So I don't at all go for shaming people about having mental health issues or mental illness. And I don't think that that's something we should be pushing. There are several more comments. Bro, no man who pretends to be a woman is reasonable. Cut the crap. Transgender is a ridiculous ridiculous imaginary term used only by mentally disturbed individuals. They need professional help, not recognition or support. I have no phobia of any kind. However, encouraging delusions to the mentally disturbed individuals is not kindness or help. So this is what these people are saying. So no, I am not going to be holding the line with people like this. And I'm not aligning myself really with anybody. I am Trump supporter. So I wear a MAGA hat, and I would say that I am MAGA. But at some point, I'm sure I will disagree with things that MAGA has to say too. There are people like Nick Fuentes, the America First movement. If I were invited to be part of the America First movement, I would say no. I don't want to align myself with that. So while I may have a lot in common with Nancy Mace as far as certain things that she said, and if you watch my old videos, a lot of the things that she said are videos that I've made before. Like she recently said that the LGB should divorce the T, which that's not even the way that really goes. The LGB is trying to divorce the TQ. And really, I've said the Q is the actual problem. And a lot of people that are normal gays also agree that the Q is the problem. The T, when it comes to trans, well, yeah, we need to get rid of transgender because that's a particular ideology. But when it comes to transsexual, a lot of gays have been friends with transsexual people for a long time. So we're not just going to give up these friendships because you guys can't understand the difference between a trans activist, which is the transgender ideology, and a trans person. And I see a lot of people saying, well, I've done my research. Like Sal Grover in particular was like, I've done my research. I've been reading into this for the last couple of years now. Okay, well, I've been living around trans people and very close friends with them for the last 30. So I get that you think that because you've read a bunch of books on people that you wouldn't bother to hang out with, that you think you know something. I understand that. But I would say I know something more because I've seen it actually in practice. I've seen people actually living it. So while you may be reading about an ideology, I'm dealing with people. And I'm going to continue to treat people like people. I'm going to continue to treat my friends like my friends. I'm not going to stop that just because Sal Grover picked up a book finally. And so when you're asking me to adopt this entire ideology, especially when, if you didn't see my video about it, I'll put the link up here so you guys can see it. But if you didn't see my video about it, there was a point where people that are the hold the line people got mad at me for suggesting something very reasonable. And I had to end up blocking a bunch of them on X. I am not exaggerating when I say I blocked or muted at least 1,000 people for saying what I consider to be a very reasonable thing. So if you think I'm going to align myself with people that would tear me down because I said one thing that they didn't agree with, and instead of talking to me about it, because I think that there is a middle ground with almost everything. When it comes to the kids and transitioning them, that's one of the few things that I don't really think there's a middle ground on. I think we need to just leave the kids alone. But outside of that, when it comes to adults, I think that there is a middle ground to almost everything. And that's the way I've been able to live my life as a gay man, occupying the spaces that I've occupied, is I've always been able to find a middle ground. And it's one of the things that bothers me the most about our politicians is that in some cases, politicians will get in these forever wars because it serves their purposes when the general population really isn't obsessed with it like that. Like there are very few people obsessed with abortion either way. Most people feel that women should have a right to choose to some degree. But then you'll have the extremists that think that under no circumstances should a woman ever have an abortion. And then you'll have the extremists on the other side that think that women should be able to have abortions even right up to after their kids are born. Just playing. That's a bit too extreme. But you know, late term abortions are what some on the left are saying that they should be able to have late term abortions. But most people think that there is a middle ground where you could satisfy the reasonable side of both parties. But because they can use it like a political football, they'll go ahead and make it seem like everybody's just too unreasonable to figure this out. And it's like, no, we're not all too unreasonable to figure it out. You're too unreasonable to put it in legislation so that we can move on because you need to dust it off every once in a while and make it seem like the most important important issue in the world to the rest of us. So they will not find a middle ground because they have these particular beliefs that in some cases their constituents don't even feel that strongly about. Like, yes, people will feel strongly about things, don't get me wrong, but I think the average person is a lot more willing to compromise and be reasonable than in some cases our politicians are. And so when our politicians are saying, I'm speaking for my constituents, sometimes the constituents feel like, no, actually you're speaking for yourself right now because we want to compromise so we can move on and get on to the next thing. We don't just want to sit here in limbo while you milk it for media attention, which is where I think that Nancy Mace and Sal Grover both go wrong, is because both of them have gotten a little too addicted to the social media likes and the mainstream media coverage and talking on podcasts, and they're starting to lose sight of what it is they're supposed to be doing for the people that they're claiming to represent or stand up for. And I'll do a video on Sal Grover as well, and a deep dive into how I think she's messing up too. And I'm still gonna do a deep dive, like I said, on why I think Nancy Mace is really screwing herself and eventually might possibly end up getting shut down over it because she's just getting a bit too carried away. But we will get to that in a couple of days. It's just one that I really have to do a lot of editing for, and one that I want to be factually correct on. Like I said, I'm going to give my opinion with it, but I want it to be factually correct so that you guys know that I'm giving you good information, even if you don't agree with the opinion that comes with that information. And then here's another one. Unlike the Democrats, MAGA welcomes everybody, even the mentally ill. That said, I don't have any problems with them as long as they stay out of women's bathrooms and sports. Now, the sports part, I can agree with you. But when it comes to the bathroom, like I said, I just feel like people should go to the bathroom that will cause the least disturbance. And what I find very hypocritical is you will hear a lot of these people that are all about biological reality saying that trans men should come to the men's bathroom. So you're trying to say that people should go to the bathroom that biologically fits what they are. But at the same time, you think that biological women should go into the men's bathroom because that would make you less uncomfortable. Well, it can't be all about your comfort, just like it can't be all about Nancy Mace's version of free speech. Because Nancy Mace will complain about the fact that she can't use the word tranny on social media, but then at the same time will say that cis should be a slur, which, to tell you the truth, I think anybody should be able to say anything and then everybody else should sort it out later. Do I think that Nancy Mace has a different responsibility as a lawmaker to watch her words? I most definitely do, because I think when it comes to Nancy Mace, she opens herself up for people to be able to say she's being discriminatory because she's using what are considered slurs. Now, whether or not you consider them slurs, for the most part, these are considered slurs. She doesn't even know social media, which bothers me too, because when she was saying that saying tranny shouldn't be a slur, and if it is a slur, then why isn't cis a slur? Well, it made news when Elon Musk first bought Twitter, when he said that cis would be treated as a slur on X. So to me, that's fair. You can't say tranny and you can't say cis. So that is equal to both sides. It can't be free speech when it's convenient to you and then limited speech when it's not convenient to you. And that's why I have such a problem with what Nancy Mace is doing with the press, because the press has a right, and in my opinion, a responsibility to tell us the news. So if Nancy Mace is saying that it happened this particular way and the other person involved in the situation is saying it happened another particular way, then I think we should be able to hear both. And I think that when they go to court, it'll all be figured out. So there are reasons that I feel the way that I feel. And it's not just me going 100% on emotion. It's me knowing that if they keep going the way that they're going to hurt the cause that they claim to represent. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you want to see a little bit more from me, click either one of the links on the screen. Thank you for watching. As always, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.
They bought into his bullshit.